You cannot make this stuff up. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has officially endorsed Omar Fateh, the Democratic Socialist of America backed candidate for mayor of Minneapolis. You probably don't know who this guy is, right? But I'm going to explain who he is and what he's been accused of. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Military Insider. Before we jump into the action, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, okay? Thank you for your support. Let's take a look at this.
Well, I'm excited to announce that I will be supporting Senator Fateh for the mayor of the city of Minneapolis.
Our Congresswoman, who I'm really excited to have her support.
And with that, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar put her stamp of approval on a grateful State Senator Omar Fateh, who envisions a city that is more equal.
Minneapolis seems to be a tale of two cities, one for the wealthy and the well-connected, and the rest of everyone else.
The Congresswoman believes the 35-year-old senator, a Democratic Socialist, can lead with a progressive agenda.
Okay, a Democratic Socialist that can lead with a progressive agenda. You're probably asking, who is this guy? Well, let me tell you something. This guy has been in the public eye for a while now. Let me show you this, and I want you guys to be the judges here, okay? Let me know in the comments, okay? This is coming from Wall Street Apes, but it's a Care 11 Investigates. It's a segment on the news, but let's read this real quick. Minneapolis mayor candidate Omar Fateh, the Somalian, was working to fast-track approvals of taxpayer funds for his wife's company. The company shut down due to rampant fraud. All Democrats do is launder your money. His wife's company, Housing Stabilization Program, already exposed for widespread fraud, now reveals an unexpected connection to candidate and state senator Omar Fateh. We did discover something raising what a legal expert labels serious ethical concerns. Senator Omar Fateh's wife was a listed owner of a housing stabilization company, even as the senator and current Minneapolis mayoral candidate himself was pushing legislation to fast-track client approval for the taxpayer-funded program. This is a situation where I think almost anybody schooled in, I don't know, Government Ethics 101, know that you can introduce legislation that benefit yourself. That's pretty much of the senators and representatives, like, they invest in the stock market knowing that they know the stories behind the scenes, so they can make good investments, right? It's pretty much the same thing. This incident joins a long list of ethics and fraud controversies, making it clear Fateh is not suited to be the mayor of Minneapolis. Let's hear this.
Tonight, new questions about politics, ethics, and a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. A Care 11 investigation into Minnesota's troubled housing stabilization program, already exposed for widespread fraud, now reveals an unexpected connection to candidate and state senator Omar Fateh.
We did discover something raising what a legal expert labels serious ethical concerns. Senator Omar Fateh's wife was a listed owner of a housing stabilization company, even as the senator and current Minneapolis mayoral candidate himself was pushing legislation.
So they were working both together, his wife and him, because his wife owned a company, and then the senator Fateh, he was pushing legislation to favor his wife,
to fast-track client approvals for the taxpayer-funded program.
Look at that.
Senator Fateh, Senate File 2741.
A bill that will address a critical delay in access to housing stabilization services, also known as HSS.
HSS.
It's March 24th, 2025, and Senator Omar Fateh is the sole author of a bill he says will speed up access for people to be approved for HSS.
Housing Stabilization Services, where his wife was an owner.
What was not known at the time was that Senator Fateh had an undisclosed tie to the HSS industry.
Does this raise any red?
He has an undisclosed tie to the HSS legislation. Of course, the undisclosed tie was because of his wife.
Flags?
It raises lots of red flags.
Political science professor David Schultz has taught ethics for 25 years. He says what raises red flags is that Senator Fateh's wife, Keltoum Mohammed, was a founder and owner of Community Development Services, LLC.
You cannot make this stuff, man. You cannot make this stuff.
An HSS company.
This is a situation where I think almost anybody schooled in, I don't know, government ethics 101 would know that you can't introduce legislation that benefits yourself.
Just 4 days after Carol Levin's investigation exposed allegations of widespread fraud in the HSS program, this record, listing the senator's wife as a current owner of Community Development Services, LLC, was filed with DHS.
All right, there you go. There you have it. So this guy was pushing legislation helping his wife company. But if you thought that was all, nah, it is not. Let's take a look at this now. Now we're talking about election fraud. Let's hear this.
Well, developing tonight, the Minnesota DFL is investigating mailers involving State Senator Omar Fateh. The party started the investigation after getting a complaint that postcards the Minneapolis DFL sent out showed it endorsed Fateh, even after the party pulled the endorsement.
Oh my God, the party pulled the endorsement, but they were still counting those. Oh my.
Fox 9's Mike Manzoni is in our live center tonight. And Mike, the Minneapolis DFL says it didn't do anything wrong.
Kelsey, it says it sent out those mailers showing all of the DFL endorsed candidates after the July convention. But the Minneapolis DFL says it printed and sent the postcards before the August decision to revoke Fateh's endorsement. But it says some of the postcards arrived after that decision. The complaint is just the latest in a series of issues stemming from the Minneapolis DFL convention back in July.
So they pulled the endorsement, but they still count the endorsement. What's going on here?
The state DFL yanked Fateh's endorsement over concerns about how the convention played out. The Minneapolis DFL appealed that decision but lost. Also, within just the last week, a Hennepin County court fined Fateh's campaign $500 for handing out yard signs claiming he was DFL endorsed after the party rescinded that endorsement. We reached out to Fateh's.
So they were saying they were endorsed by DFL, but that was before they pulled the endorsement.
Campaign and the Minnesota DFL for comment tonight, but haven't heard back.
Of course, then you're not gonna hear it back.
All right, thank you, Mike. And just today, the city of Minneapolis hosted a mayoral forum. During it, the top.
So that's pretty much the four candidates right there that are running for mayor of Minneapolis. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota, man, in Minneapolis, but my goodness. All right, now. You got it right there. Who is this guy? What he's been accused of? And on the other hand, we have Mamdani breaks silence on freed Israeli hostages in statement that doesn't mention Trump. Of course, they're not going to mention the president, but it is what it is. Former Governor Cuomo called Mamdani out earlier in the day for not speaking out sooner. So, after facing backlash for staying silent as Israeli hostages were freed from Gaza, New York City Socialist mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani finally broke his silence Monday afternoon. Today's scenes of Israelis and Palestinians are profoundly moving. Israeli hostages being freed and families reunited after years of uncertainty and torture. The first day in Gaza without relentless Israeli bombardment of Palestinians as family returned to rubble and loved ones freed from detention. Mamdani posted on X on Monday shortly after 4 p.m. Eastern Time in a message that did not mention President Donald Trump or acknowledge his role in negotiations. Mamdani went on to mark the development as a glimmer of hope that the ceasefire will hold and the long and difficult work of reconstruction can begin. I also know this news brings solace to millions of New Yorkers who felt the pain of the past few years. Mamdani said, "We have watched our tax dollars have funded a genocide. The moral and human cost will be a lasting stain and requires accountability and real examination of our collective conscience and our government policy." So, this is what came out this morning. Democratic Socialist group backing Mamdani condemns Gaza ceasefire, calls for more anti-Israel resistance. So this guy pretty much is saying that after the peace deal that was completed yesterday, He's calling for more anti-Israel resistance. The Democratic Socialist of America, DSA, the political party to which New York City Mayor hopeful Zohran Mamdani belongs, brushed off Israel's ceasefire with Hamas on Monday and called for further resistance to Israel's apartheid and occupation of Gaza. So this guy is calling for more resistance to Israel after the peace deal. So what's going on? The peace deal is completed. The hostages have been freed. Let's move on, okay? The DSA released the statement titled "Until Palestinian Liberation" on its website, declaring that they have no illusion that Israel will honor and negotiate agreement that preserve Palestinian life or self-determination. The statement made no mention of the release of Israeli hostages from Hamas captivity and accused Israel of terrorizing the Palestinian people and nation in the region. There you go. There you have it. That's pretty much what's going on right now. You saw Congresswoman Ilhan Omar endorsing Omar Fateh, and you see that he has a bunch of dark clouds above him. So I don't know how that's going to end up, who's going to win the Minneapolis mayor race. And on the other hand, you got these people in New York going nuts about Mamdani's statement about calling for more resistance to Israel after the peace deal and the hostage being released. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I want to hear. I want to read your position, your point of view. Let's debate. I love it. I love the comments. Thank you so much for your support. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and really help the channel out. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for your support.